Welcome, wonderful listener. I'm your host, Carrie B. Van Winkle, and you are listening to the Smart and Soulful Money Podcast. I'm a socially responsive investment advisor and certified financial transitionist. This season, I'm naming and exploring important dimensions of what we inherit in our money lives, financial or otherwise, and how we move forward from there. More specifically, I'll be talking about how I work with women and other traditionally marginalized people who are inheritors, helping them move through the experience of inheritance in a way that can positively change how they engage in their money life, achieve their money goals, invest in the way that is aligned with their values, and transform the legacy they want to leave for their loved ones and in the bigger world. Whether you are an inheritor, anticipate this experience in your future or not, we all inherit when it comes to our money lives, whether that is a financial inheritance, inheriting systems, culture, stories, or mindset. While an inheritance is often generations in the making, many of the dimensions of this experience for women and other traditionally marginalized people have yet to be named and understood. Let's begin to do that here. In this episode, I'll talk about the two sides of money, a key understanding for financial transitionists and people going through financial transition. Susan Bradley, the author of Sudden Money and the founder of the Financial Transitionist Institute, talks about the two sides of money, the technical and the personal. The technical is what we might typically think of when we think of money, taking money actions, our money life, working with financial professionals. It's all of, the work that we do around money, from investments, how we spend money, where we save our money, how we give. All of those things are the technical side of money. We know just as importantly, but maybe even more importantly than the technical side, is the personal side. Because without the personal piece, the technical can't happen, or if it does happen, it may not give you the outcomes for yourself, for your loved ones, for the world that you really want it to give. Talking about the personal side a little bit, the personal side of money, it really is acknowledging a whole person. There's a whole person that we bring to this work that we do with our financial professionals and making financial decisions, taking actions in our money life. And it's this whole person, not only as an individual, but within this bigger context of our life, our community, our loved ones, our family and friends, and then the larger world. And all of that context informs the personal side of money. So the decisions we make and the actions we take in our money life don't happen in a vacuum. They are made and done within this larger picture. And so why does it matter? Why does it matter that we're talking about the personal side of money? I mean, I'm a certified financial planner. I'm an investment advisor. Why am I talking about the personal side of money as a certified financial transitionist? Because the personal side of money provides the context for decision making. Said another way, this is the way Susan has said it, the personal side of money drives decision making, drives our decision making. So whether we're not taking action, kind of in analysis paralysis perhaps when it comes to our money, or we are taking action but doing so for a number of reasons that are not in alignment with what's in our best interest or in alignment with our values. If we're not honoring, acknowledging, and bringing in the personal side of money to inform the technical side, then we might regret decisions we've made, and we might very much feel that those decisions are out of alignment with what matters most to us. So let's dive in more deeply to the personal side of money. I've given some examples of the technical side, planning how we will use our money, planning our giving, investing, all of those things that I've mentioned are technical parts of our money life. So the personal side includes our relationships, emotions around money, hopes and dreams, self-esteem, sense of well-being, and then values. And all of these things, and probably more, you might think of more than this, all of these things come together to create this experience of the personal side of money for each of us. So as an inheritor, for example, let's look at relationships. It's very easy to quickly think about our context for decisions and action or non-action around our money. Relationships with our family, relationships with others who have expectations of us as an inheritor, relationships related to giving, relationships with those who maybe we leave our legacy to. This weaving together of relationships is really such a key part of navigating the technical side, and again, getting to those decisions that really are decisions that are right for us and are in alignment with what matters to us. Emotions. So emotions related to the experience of inheriting and other ways that we experience financial transitionists. But again, for this season, really focusing on the experience of inheriting. So emotions and inheritance are usually very complex, and how that impacts our ability to make decisions, the decisions we make, it can really have a great impact on the experience. So emotions are critical. Being able to bring the personal side of money into the money work, into the technical money work, you can't really do one without the other. These have to go together. And it doesn't mean, I'm not a financial therapist. That's not the first and last time you'll probably hear me say that. And most certified financial planners and investment advisors are not financial therapists. As a certified financial transitionist, we do have a background in training to help support people in bringing their whole self into these money decisions and money actions. There is a space for it, an appropriate space for it, an honoring space for it in the technical side of the work. Another piece of context that I mentioned on the personal side of money are our hopes and dreams. At some point in your financial transitionist, you may feel connected to hopes and dreams that you have for your life, again, for your loved ones, and for the bigger world. And how do you use the technical side of money to help take action toward those hopes and dreams? Also, something that brings complexity to hopes and dreams is, are these truly your hopes and dreams? What is guiding you? Are these expectations and shoulds from outside of you, from other people, other entities? Or are these really authentically rooted in who you are and what matters to you and your hopes and dreams? So that's important awareness. That informs the technical side. Self-esteem. This self-esteem can be interpreted in different ways. One of the key ways I really interpret this is connection to our inner voice, our intuition, our gut. My gut, my intuition, my inner voice is such an important part of how I kind of move through the world. So for me, this is an important one, and I think for a lot of people, you have those inner voices. It may be positive or negative, but listening to, I would say, maybe beyond, if you have that negative inner critic, moving beyond that to your intuition might be more connected to what financial transitionists mean by self-esteem here. So being able to connect to your inner voice, your intuition, and help use that to inform some of your decisions. Now, it doesn't mean, just going on intuition for the hottest stock pick. Of course, I don't mean that. But there is an important place for listening to yourself. Bari Tessler, author of The Art of Money, talks a lot about embodiment practices. She's a somatic therapist, and that's all about the connection to our body and not just living in the mind, but really being informed and experiencing things through the body. Even being able to bring our body more into the spaces, where we're doing our money work is a wisdom that is an important wisdom to be able to honor and bring in. Sense of well-being is another part of the personal side of money, especially as people are going through financial transitions. They can have more or less a sense of well-being. With the complicated emotions, with the complicated relationships, you might be in a great place with your sense of well-being right now, and also you might be struggling with this, be challenged by this, depending on where you're at in that transition. And inheritors may be affected by that sense of well-being just very personally, or what's going on in the bigger world. The normal things going on in the bigger world just seem to have additional layers on top of them, over the last few years. So this can affect our sense of well-being, and that can affect our decisions and actions or inaction in our money life. And then something that financial transitionists don't always talk about that is really important in the work that I do, that I've added to this list on the personal side, are our values. And so our values, what matters to us, what matters to me, what matters to you, are really such a guide for informing decisions and actions in our money life. And being able to bring those in, work with someone who feels in alignment with who you are. They don't have to have, I don't have the same exact values as every single client that I have, but our values are complementary, I would say, and compatible. And that's really often not the case, I find, with financial professionals and the people that they work with. So finding someone that you feel has compatible enough values for you that you are more open and feel comfortable bringing your values in the way that you want to bring it in to those money conversations and money decisions. That's very much a natural, normal part of the conversations I'm having with clients. A lot of times it's pretty unusual to bring that into a financial professional conversation and an investment advisor conversation. But, with the work that I do around impact investments, progressive values reflected in your socially responsive investments, that's just such an important, it's a foundational piece of the work that we do together. It's one of the first things that we start to talk about when we do our work together is values. And it's not only, bigger world values, it's also very personal values about your family, your community, as well as the bigger world, people and planet and our earth, and all different interpretations of that, are impacted by the investments that we choose. One more thing I'll add for now about the personal side of money is there's this context about how we feel about the transition that we're going through, about the experience that we're having. So if this is the experience of being an inheritor, either anticipating becoming an inheritor, navigating the relationships, navigating the emotion around that, navigating your hopes, navigating your values, which may or may not be similar to those of where you're inheriting from, who you're inheriting from. So how you feel about going through the change, going through the experience, it really informs in so many layers being able to do the technical side of the work. So we've introduced this simple and common sense but kind of big idea about the personal side of money. And what do you do with that? What do we do with that? In earlier episodes of this season, I've talked about some of the things you can do or might already be doing. So the first episode, I talked about noticing what you're experiencing. So noticing what's going on in the relationships, your relationships related to money, noticing your emotions related to money, noticing your hopes and dreams, noticing your intuition, your inner voice, whether that's an inner critic or an encouraging, rooted voice, noticing how your values have a place, or maybe you feel like they don't have a place yet in your money life. That's naturally what is going to happen first. In the second episode, I talked about communication. And so that's another something you can do that's very, very powerful, can feel very challenging, especially in the beginning, but is everything. Communication with financial professionals, communication with family, communication with your partner, if that's your situation. If you're an inheritor and you have a spouse or significant other, and you're going through this experience of inheriting, the communication you have with that spouse and significant other can be challenging, and it's also so important. Communication if you have children, all of those things, all of those spaces where communication just is so powerful and so important. So if you haven't listened to episode 2 and you feel like you want to hear more about communication, be sure to go back to episode 2 of this season. Okay, and then the next answer to this question of what you can do now that you're more aware of this personal side of money, naming some of the experiences of the personal side of money, is what I call space and pace. So allowing yourself space and honoring the appropriate pace that you need right now. Sometimes people feel a lot of pressure to take fast action when it comes to the experience of sudden money. Talking here about the experience particularly of inheriting. I'm supposed to know what to do. I need to be able to take care of this. I need to get it done. Some of that is true. There might be some things that are timely and do need your attention. And a lot of times there is more space than you realize, and that you can take a slower pace to really honor what needs your energy and attention right now. And sometimes that's not the money to-dos. It's other pieces of this. It's this personal side of relationships and emotion before you're really ready to make decisions and take action and the technical side of it. So just speaking a little bit more to this sense of honoring yourself. How can you honor yourself, not judge yourself, not shame yourself, not should yourself on how you should be handling this, what you should know about this, how you should have done it differently in the past, but honoring who you are, what you're bringing to this now, what are your needs now, and caring for yourself. What are those needs? And then also what matters to you. So there's an opportunity here to explore how bringing in what matters to you, how there's space for that. Maybe now more than there had been in the past. Or there's this opportunity to do that now that was not there before. So just honoring you as you are experiencing, going through an inheritance or other experience of sudden money. A lot of times we are not centered in our own money life, and so we don't honor ourselves and what matters to us, what is connected to us in the decisions that we make. And so doing what you can, it can be little small things that make those shifts, to honor yourself. Okay, another, I feel like a big one is support. And so what to do, bring in support. We don't often talk about money. Inheritors particularly are not necessarily going to talk about money or feel that they have people they can talk to about their money situation, people that understand or empathetic, get it, the challenges. This isn't all a wonderful experience of sudden money, but this is complicated and challenging and something that can feel very lonely to navigate. So getting support in ways that feel appropriate to you, feel healthy to you. So if you have someone you can just share more with, share more of your experience than you might have otherwise shared in the past, a trusted person, as Brene Brown talks about, finding kind of those deserving of us sharing our vulnerability with them. Don't choose someone who's not deserving of that, who is not going to be supportive of you and handle that well. But, if you do have someone or some people in your life that can provide that support, open up to the possibility of sharing with them in ways you might not have shared with them in the past, so that you can connect with that support. It's very important that you don't feel too isolated and alone in navigating this. So those personal relationships you already have, I would start there. There are wonderful financial therapists if you feel like that's the side. And even if you have a therapist and you can bring this into the work, or if you don't have a therapist yet, that could be a good next step in having support as you navigate this kind of transition in your life and the complexity that brings with relationships and communication and all these things that are so part of our human experience. And then, of course, your financial professionals, feeling like you have the support from your financial professionals, which is not always the case. Often it's the financial professionals you inherit that may feel somewhat supportive or very much not supportive, even disrespectful or dishonoring, or, all the things. I think I spoke about that in an earlier episode, what that experience can look like. And so making sure that you have, I would say, particularly your investment advisor, your financial planner, those can be the same person. I do both of those, or they can be separate people. And then your accountant can be another really key financial professional on your team that you want to feel that support from them. And part of that support, especially in the early phases of going through a financial transition and going through an inheritance, is that they allow you space that you need to not make decisions when you're not ready to make decisions. And I would say a key piece of financial professionals' job, but is not often the case, is a key part of our work with you is, how do I help you get to decisions that feel right and aligned for you? Not what I tell all my clients to do, or not what I think you should do, or not acting like there's one right decision when often in money there's not one right decision for every single person. So how do I help you get to that right and aligned decision? That's a key part of that support. And then another piece of this that I want to share is just this idea of the opportunity for shaping change in our life. When we feel like there's something at stake in our life as it relates to money, that's when we know it might be time to take action. That can be something very small, or it can be something very big. But when there's something you care about that's at stake, there's an opportunity there for shaping change in a way that, again, reflects your values, helps move the world in a direction that you would like it to move in, impacts your life in the positive ways that you would like to impact your life for yourself and your loved ones. We've talked about the two sides of money, really diving into this idea of the personal side of money, why it matters, what I mean by personal side of money, and what to do with that, what to do from here.
Thank you for listening to the Smart and Soulful Money podcast. If you have found the podcast helpful, please be sure to leave a rating or review on your favorite podcast player. It really makes a difference. To ensure you get the next episode when it goes live, please hit subscribe or follow. In the episode notes, you can find direct links to follow me on Instagram, sign up to learn about new episodes, and to find out more about my work as a socially responsive investment advisor. Until next time, remember, it is possible to have an approach to your money life that is both smart and soulful.